Okay, so we're going to start off with the golf club, and I'm going to be exhibiting rotary forces in doing this. And so we're going to start out by holding the golf driver at this end, and I'm going to do 180 degrees rotation from left to right with my wrist, and then using only my hand and wrist, I'm going to draw a figure 8 in the air. And then I'm going to do the same thing, but this time I'm going to be gripping it at the base, at the heavier part of the golf club. And we're going to do left to right, and then only using my wrist, draw figure 8. And then, so we're going to do the same thing with a baseball bat. So it's a little different. I actually don't have a baseball bat because I could not get access to one, so I'm going to use an umbrella because it's the same kind of concept where we have a kind of a cylinder, I guess, shape. And this part's heavier, this part's lighter down at the end. So we're going to start the same way and do the 180 degrees of rotation from left to right. And then only using my wrist, I'm going to do a figure 8. And then we're going to flip it around and hold the heavier part, keep the lighter part out, do 180 degrees rotation, and a figure 8. So when ranking those 4 motions in hardest to easiest, I definitely think that the figure 8 was the hardest with the golf club when I'm holding it at the handle of it. And so when the actual club of the golf club is out in front of me, that was definitely the hardest to make it in like a clear straight figure 8. And then the next hardest would be when I'm holding the umbrella by the handle and when the heavier part is making the figure 8. And then so the second easiest would be the golf club when I'm holding it by the base and just using the handle to draw the figure 8. And then the easiest one was when I was holding the baseball bat or umbrella by the heavier part and just using the lighter handle to draw the figure 8 from.
So then the third video, we have a bucket that's halfway full of water, and we're gonna start with a couple swings. All the water stayed in the bucket.
Okay, so to kind of explain why all of the water stays in the bucket despite the fact that it's being turned upside down, we're going to use the law of inertia and then also talk a little bit about centripetal forces. So the law of inertia states that every body perseveres in its state or rest or of uniform motion in a right line unless it's compelled to change that state by forces impressed upon it. So in order for the water to go out of the bucket, it would need a force impressed upon it to change the state of motion in a right line. So it's thinking of like it going along the same pathway instead of like going on a different one. And so the way that that plays into centripetal forces is that a centripetal force is acting on anything that's like moving in a circular direction, and the force of like a centripetal force is directed at the center of where it's going in a circle. So like the force on the water is pointed in towards my arm, like towards my shoulder joint, in the way that it's going in a circle. So that force is pressing the water into the bottom of the bucket and keeping it on technically that right line for the law of inertia, but also keeping the water in the bucket even though it's technically not following a straight line.